Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Rapid Response. It's great to be with you. I have some clips that, well, some of them I need to apologize for in advance. We've got some Joe Rogan making a really exciting announcement, and Kamala Harris gets the last word. Enjoy.
So, related to this is the whole issue of contraceptives. Do you support any restrictions on a person's right to contraception?
Well, we're looking at that, and I'm going to have a policy on that very shortly. And I think it's something that you'll find interesting. And it's another issue that's very interesting. But you will find it, I think, very smart. I think it's a smart decision. But we'll be releasing it very soon.
Very soon. Very soon. Yes, yes. As soon as he announces his healthcare plan and his infrastructure. No, okay. Obviously, it's hard to tell. I was going to say, obviously, this is a friendly network, but at that press conference yesterday, I'm going to assume there were reporters. In fact, I know that there were reporters in the room who weren't from Fox or OAN or Russia Today or whatever the Pravda, whatever that was. He has no plan. He doesn't understand the question. I'm not even sure he knows what contraception is. He's going to do whatever he's told to do, because if the worst tragedy in world history happens and he gets back into the White House, he is going to owe so many people so many favors. Do you really think he'll stop at saying, oh no, you can't touch contraception? Oh no, you need to leave it up to the state. We promised them. Bullshit. He's going to cede the ground to anybody who is supporting him right now. And that means privacy, the right to privacy is going to go right out the window. Why? Because the right to privacy protects rights like marriage equality, the right to choose, the right to travel across state lines to get an abortion, and the right to contraception. Do not be fooled. And also, by the way, it wasn't even a freaking answer. It was, I think he said, we'll see. Interesting. Smart. I'm convinced. Could the bar be any lower? It's the molten core of the earth.
Savannah, one other sort of news thread to follow from that press conference yesterday. Donald Trump continuing to play down the issue of abortion, saying he doesn't think it'll be a big factor in November, and claiming, as he's done many times, that the majority of Americans supported the overturning of Roe v. Wade. That's something the polling says he's just wrong about. He also suggested that he would be open to banning the use of mifepristone. That's the key drug used in a medication abortion. That answer already drawing a lot of attention from abortion rights groups, as well as from the Harris campaign.
Okay. I defy you to make any sense of what that idiot said in response to the question about mifepristone and abortion. It was complete nonsense. But apparently, corporate media thinks it's its job to translate Donald's word salad for us so that we're not completely aware that his brain is melting. Okay. So, that having been said, let's pretend for the sake of argument that he answered the question, which he did not do. Even if he made sense, he didn't answer the question. It was a lot of, again, we'll see, it's great, it's the best, whatever. Kamala Harris is low IQ. I mean, that's basically what the whole thing was. Also, don't call it a press conference. It was literally like a North Korea style pageant for the dear leader. I don't even think Donald knows what mifepristone is. That's one thing. And he's not wrong about it to the extent that he's actually saying anything worth hearing. He's lying about it. And were there any follow-up questions? Was there any pushback? No. So, one, stop calling these staged events press conferences. Oh, and by the way, just a quick thing. That's the first time I heard the question, because so-called reporters at that event weren't mic'd. And I think the reason they weren't mic'd is so that if they asked a question Donald didn't want to answer or didn't approve of, nobody could hear it in real time. So yeah, these are staged events. They were by invitation only. They were for either friendly members of the press or members of the press who are known not to push back in the moment. So yeah, they're not press conferences, and the people in that room, they're not fucking journalists. Before we get to the next clip, I have a quick favor for you. Please click on the subscribe button. Doesn't cost anything, but we're really on a push here at Mary Trump Media to get to 100,000 subscribers. It will help us increase our reach, and we so appreciate you. So thanks. On to the next.
That's just what they do. That's politics. They do it on the left. They do it on the right. They gaslight you. They manipulate you.
Yeah.
They
Whoa,
promote
no,
narratives.
Narrative promoting.
And the only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You a fan?
Yeah, I am a fan. Yeah, he's the only one that makes sense to me. He's the only one that he doesn't attack people. He attacks
Baby bears.
actions and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent. I mean, the guy was an environmental attorney and cleaned up the East River. I mean, he's a legitimate guy. You know, before anybody started calling him an anti-vaxxer, which I thought he was too. I thought he was this nut, this like conspiracy theorist nut, until I read his book. I read The Real Anthony Fauci, and I'm
God.
like, what is how much of this is real? Because
Good
if it's
question,
all real,
Joe.
this is fucking insane. And we live in a world where we're being manipulated by these health organizations that are being paid by the pharmaceutical drug interests. And these pharmaceutical drug companies are pumping these products out into the population and telling us that we need them and then making insane amounts of money. And then also the government is in on it. And also they share a patent with Moderna. And also they share profits. And there's $700 million, however much money was made, whatever the number is that these guys made off of these products. Like all of it is fucking crazy. There's the revolving door between the CDC and the FDA and then these pharmaceutical drug companies. So the people that make the regulations then go on to have these cushy jobs with the pharmaceutical drug corporations. Like, oh, nothing to see here. It's like it's open. It's right out in the open.
Right.
And when he talks about all that stuff in his book, you're just like, what the fuck, man? If this wasn't true, he would be sued.
Yeah, but
So it seems to be true.
yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
things
seems
people
to be
don't wanna talk
true.
about 'cause they don't wanna be
If Rob Kennedy is saying these things, must be true. So yeah, I wonder how do you get from he's a nut and a conspiracy theorist to, oh yeah, I really like that guy. Well, you too become a nut and a conspiracy theorist. I think, great sign of the decline of our culture is the fact that this idiot makes like $200 million a year spewing his utter nonsense for which there is no proof. The fact that somebody writes a book doesn't make the information in it true. And the fact that the person writing that fake book doesn't get sued also doesn't make it true. I haven't read the book because I'm not the slightest bit interested in hearing anything that Rob Kennedy has to say. And I'm also not interested in hearing anything that Joe Rogan has to say. Unfortunately, these two people have been allowed to thrive in America. And the reason they're thriving is because they have a massive amount of influence. Obviously, these are the guys who are competing with Donald for the incel white boy vote. So I guess that's good. They'll split that. But it's just it's a sad commentary on what's happened to our views of what it means to be a man or just like a decent human being, that anybody looks to Joe Rogan. He's like one step removed from the Andrew Tates of the world. So I don't know, man. I mean, I guess since I think anybody listening to Joe Rogan would have voted for Donald anyway, I guess this is a good development. I mean, we've already seen it in polls. When you add Rob Kennedy, to the poll, it does nothing to dilute support for Kamala Harris. So thanks, Joe. Look at me. I went full circle, 180 degrees. What a guy. Keep it up.
And we who believe in reproductive freedom will stop Donald Trump's extreme abortion bans because we trust women to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do. And when Congress passes a law to restore reproductive freedoms, as President of the United States, I will sign it into law.
I'll never be jaded about that. President Kamala Harris. Yeah, it's so simple, right? It sounds so simple, doesn't it? Why should anybody have any say over what a woman does with her body? Right? I mean, there's no reason to complicate it. And I think I think what happened is that for decades we allowed the right to get away with labeling themselves pro-life. And not only did we let them get away with it, that language was used by everybody, including people on the left. It made me fucking crazy because one, they were, by defining themselves that way, they were making it seem like they were better than, right? There's this superiority to saying that, because what's the opposite of pro-life, right? It's obviously in this context anti-choice, but what if you're just playing that game? I'm going to say a word and you tell me the opposite: pro-life, pro-death, and that was the brilliance in that, the choice of that label. And shame on anybody who allowed them to co-opt that position, because as we've learned, these people are anything but. I mean, if you step outside of the issue of the right to choose, they are pro-death penalty, they're pro-war, they're pro keeping people in poverty, they're anti-feeding school children lunch if they can't afford their own, they're racist, they're misogynist. And in the context of the abortion issue, they actually believe that 10-year-old rape victims should be forced to give birth to a child as the result of that rape, no matter how badly it damages that child, meaning the 10-year-old, and no matter how it destroys her life. Same thing, grown women, rape victims, grown women who want to have a child, but something goes horribly wrong. There is no viable fetus. Too bad. You're going to have to risk dying just to let nature take its course. Why? I don't know. I have no friggin' clue. And they don't have an answer either. That's why none of these people should be allowed to make a decision for anybody. Anybody. And also, by the way, if we take this conversation, which it looks like finally the overturning of Roe v. Wade is kind of allowing us to do, out of the whole when does life begin, it changes the whole context of the argument. Because why anybody should be able to answer that question beyond medical professionals, first of all, it's beyond my comprehension. If you're getting that answer from the Bible, stay away from me. Please. Use that as your guide and leave the rest of us out of it. Right? There's no definitive answer necessarily. And that then means that getting an abortion for any reason is reasonable. And it's none of your fucking business. Well, actually, Governor Walz says that a little bit more politely. Mind your own damn business. It's a little bit more Midwest nice, but I'm not from the Midwest, so I don't know. I guess I'm Northeastern mean. I'm not really sure. But anyway, I like that shift. Because I've always believed this. It is completely within bounds for a woman to choose to have an abortion because she doesn't want to be pregnant. There you go. Very simple. And you know what? If she had a right to privacy, if it were only left between her and her doctor or her and her pharmacy, nobody would know. And that's the way it should be.
What you got?
Wait a minute. Is that Vice President Kamala Harris speaking to reporters? I was told that she never did that. Also, one, how fucking cool. The last time I saw sunglasses used in such a cool manner, it was when Nancy Pelosi was leaving the White House in her red coat. And before that, it was when Secretary of State Hillary Clinton started that incredible meme with her on a plane with her sunglasses on and texting somebody. I mean, seriously, whipping those sunglasses off. What do you got? I'm not going to fill in the subtext, but I can only imagine. So she's just going to keep playing everybody. She has this. She has this. I'm telling you, it gets better all the time. And by the way, for those complete losers, I won't mention any names, who keep saying that she hasn't given a press conference yet, she's busy. Thanks for being here for this edition of Rapid Response. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, a quick reminder, please click the subscribe button if you haven't already. It doesn't cost anything. It just means that you will be informed every time new videos drop here at Mary Trump Media, which is pretty much every day. We're trying to increase our reach. Our goal in the short term is to get to 100,000, preferably by next week. So click subscribe if you haven't. Also, if you could like the episodes and share them with people you think might like them, that would also be awesome. Thanks again for being here. I'll see you soon.